And I got my homeboy Pete Frank with me. And we letting everybody know who got a dream. Yo, stay focused. Keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right, let's go.
Your faith is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't turn right. Just look straight. You don't have to fear no.
Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Thursday. I am Dr. Yolanda Jerry, and welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am so excited about the guest that we will be having this evening. I'm telling you, this is the woman that I know that is a powerhouse. She's going to be speaking at the Power Up Summit coming up next week. And so what better way than to start the Thursday off with someone who is going to bring a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of her story, and a whole lot of nuggets to help you move forward. So without further ado, our guest speaker for tonight is TrevisMichelle. And before we get her up on this show with us, I'm going to ask you to please share this broadcast. Tag a friend, tag a family member, tag your brother, your sister, your cousin. It doesn't matter who you get on the show tonight because somebody's going to want to hear what she's going to be dropping tonight. So again, I'll give you some time to go ahead and invite people in, and we will be right back.
Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show, where you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their stories. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofits, and ministries were birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world, one story at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Yolanda Jerry.
And we are back, everyone. So again, I am Dr. Yolanda Jerry of the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am your host for this evening because guess what? It is my show. So as I mentioned, we are going to be speaking with our special guest, TrevisMichelle. TrevisMichelle is a best-selling author, women empowerment builder, and a highly sought-after keynote speaker who has shared stages with some of the most renowned speakers. At the age of 17, her power was taken away when her mother's boyfriend forcefully impregnated her. Yes, you heard me, forcefully impregnated her. Her power was stripped again when her father disowned her because she decided to keep her baby. In addition, her power and her voice was silenced when she married a man 32 years her senior and went through a painful divorce. In each of these situations, she made a choice to put herself first and gain back her power. As a result, TrevisMichelle is not a bitter woman. She has forgiven all who hurt her, and she even cares for her father who neglected and turned his back on her when she needed him as a child, and is friends with her ex-husband today. She now helps women living with the remnants of painful trauma go from powerless to powerful, using her signature walk method to teach them to overcome powerless thoughts, unforgiveness, and lead a meaningful life. And we will welcome TrevisMichelle to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. Hello, Trevis. Hey, girl.
How are you? Oh my goodness, I am so good. I'm so excited to be here. You have no idea.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here on the show with us this evening. Look, we got people tuning in from all over. Frank Henderson and Brenda Young, Linda Tompkins, Patty Fields, Crystal Harrison, Paula Favre. Look, they coming in here, girls. So obviously they want to hear what you have to say. So I hope you're ready because this is going to be a real conversation.
I am so ready. I'm so excited. Being in your presence, I'm excited because what does God say? When two or more are gathered in His name, we are equally yoked, and and we're brace twins.
I know. Look, and you see how I was trying to do the introduction to do your bio. Look, I could barely get it out because I got braces on the top and at the bottom, girl. So it's a struggle. The struggle is real over here.
Yes.
So look, lady, thanks for being here and thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. So I want to jump right on in and let's just talk a little bit more. I've gave your professional bio, but I really want the watchers and the listeners to really know who TrevisMichelle is. So I want to ask the question, starting off in your childhood, can you tell us where you grew up and what was your childhood like?
Well, I am a native New Yorker. That's right, a real New Yorker, born and raised, okay, until I went to Florida and for high school. But when I lived with my grandparents, Alice and Clarence Presley, I wear my pearls in honor of my grandma. It was great. I was the only child at that time, and they doted on me. I was around the adults, so I was the only child there, very loving. But with my mom, not so much. Sorry, someone just slipped down the stairs in my house.
No worries.
Oops, because they weren't supposed to be down here. But but with my mom, she was just so, she wasn't happy with herself because sorry, I thought they were in bed. That's my little one.
Oh, it's okay. It happens.
Right.
Part of being a mother. Part of being a mother.
A grandmother. That's my
grandmother.
No.
You don't even look like a grandmother.
But he likes to be on the show too. But because she wasn't happy with her life, she just bled all over everybody else. And she took it out on me. And so she was very abusive to me. At this point, I still, to this day, my left ear, I can't have any wind blowing because she ruptured my eardrum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And back then, people they didn't want to go to the doctor. Sorry. They don't want to go to the doctor and say that you were abused. And my grandparents was like, oh, she's upset. That's okay. It'll get better. She'll be all right. And ignored it. My father, because they didn't, they decided to get divorced, she was still so upset. He didn't want to be with me either.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up paying the price. So everybody told me that I was, I didn't look the way they wanted me to look. I was too dark. I didn't move fast enough. They shoved food in my mouth so that I had to eat faster. It was just painful.
Aww.
I'm so sorry. You okay? This is what happens on your lives, right?
Hey, it's all right.
Everything was planned out. But actually, Christian is here. It's actually my son's son, who I had from the rape, and I'm keeping his son. And he's such a great father. And all of this happening, we help each other. I learned how to say hello. I learned how to, multitask. That's what I'm doing right now. But to love my children. I had to make a conscious decision to make a change and say, the way I was brought up with my mother, I'm not going to continue that with my children. I am going to be close. My 3 kids, we are so close, sometimes get on my nerves. because if I go out, I have to tell them I went out, I'm back, if I'm traveling out of state. And I didn't have that at all. I was the color purple?
Mm-hmm.
Sealy?
Yes.
I was Sealy.
Oh.
I had to cook. I had to clean. I was told I was too dark. That's me. I was told I was too dark. I wasn't lazy, but nothing I did was right. Nothing. So I was always made to feel powerless.
Right. So knowing that your mother, did that to you, made you feel that way, and didn't make you a priority back then. How did that make you feel, knowing that, she really didn't, you felt like she really didn't care about you at all?
Yeah, I knew my mother didn't, because she told me. I was 9 years old, sitting on the bed, and I walked by this place this weekend. I had Christian with me, and it's in the neighborhood that I grew up, and I just stood there looking at the house, and I remembered my mom saying to me, "You will never come before any man that I have."
What?
Yeah, I was 9.
Wait, Travis. She said this to you, to your face, and said, I will not. I can't.
You can't even say it, right?
I can't even process it.
I will never come before any man she has.
Mm.
That's what she said to me. And now that I'm out speaking and I'm sharing my story, and I'm like, I passed by the house and said, why does this look so familiar? I had thought about it for a while, but I had not passed the home. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? And it hit me. This was the house. It's still there.
Wow. So I cannot even process having some, I hear stories like this, TrevisMichelle, where people say things like what your mother has done to you, and then for it to be done at such a very young age, right? Not like they're telling you this when you're an adult and you kind of can process your own feelings and your own emotions, but to tell you at a young age like that, that's got to be very hurtful. Like, did it make you numb?
She had abused me so much at that point, even by the time I was 9, that I guess it just didn't dawn on me. I just knew that's how it always was. So I didn't know any different. I just know that I had to be seen and not heard. I would pray for my mom, like, oh my goodness, don't come home from work, because I didn't know what mood she'd be in and if she was using me as a punching bag that day. So when I would be with my grandparents, finally she let me go live with them. It was a safe haven, because I started urinating on myself if my mother raised her voice at me. It was, and look, I'm sharing these stories. My mother has passed, and the last 5 months of her life, because people are going to be on here and have all kinds of feelings, and I understand that, but the last 5 months of her life were the best 5 months of my life. She was actually a mom to me before she passed. And who do you think took care of her?
Of course, you. But Travis, I'm glad you say that. We'll get into that a little bit more, because of course tonight we're talking about, the power of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is powerful. And so we'll get into that forgiveness piece. But now I want to kind of shift over to, because you were already hurt, like all these years by your mom and since you were a kid. But then your dad.
Whew.
Then your dad. So usually you'll hear stories where some people say they've been hurt by one parent, but you were hurt by both of your parents. Like, that's gotta be, that's enough to make that's like cutting somebody in the arm and then make them bleed nonstop, right? To be hurt by the mother, but now you're hurt by your dad, because the way you usually hear people say daddy's girl, but you weren't daddy's girl. You were hurt by your daddy. So share with us about that.
Well, my mother was not a nice person. She was nice to everybody else, but she had so much anger, and she wanted to stay with him. She wanted the marriage not to break up, but they just were not good for each other, because you know what? They were exactly duplicates of each other. They were twins, male and female. So my mother would make it more difficult for him to see me, but he didn't really try that hard. Let's just put it out there and be honest. He didn't really try that hard, because he never wanted a child. I just found out recently that I'm thinking, because he says, acts like he's so holier than thou, that my mom was pregnant before they got married. I literally found this out a few months, 8 weeks ago, from my father. And he said he never wanted children. And I'm like, wow, you really need to tell me this now? And I'm taking care of you and you in my house? You feel comfortable saying that? So, but we were having a conversation. But my dad, I looked up to him. He was a model. He also worked at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. So all of the top people came through there. Beverly Johnson, Iman. He knew everybody. Tommy Hilfiger, because a lot of them passed through Fashion Institute. And I was like, Daddy, and I remember where I was in Florida, sitting on the bed, and he had come down, because he would pass through, show a wad of money, act like the big guy with his latest girlfriend or what have you. And, I'd have to act like everything was fine, because when you're abused, you can't tell people you're being abused.
Right.
And I said, well, Daddy, I know I'm short, but I just want to be a print model. He looked at me and said, I work with beautiful women every single day. What makes you think you can be a model? So you let me know. I mean,
just shut the front door. Like, just go ahead and just tell me that I'm ugly already, is basically what he said.
Right.
But you his child. You were first of all. let me not go there, because I'm like, well, if you ugly, I'm gonna say your daddy was ugly too, but I ain't gonna say that.
It's all good. It's all good. But the thing is,
he had an ugly spirit, though. I will say that. If for him to tell you something like that, to say, I work with all of these beautiful people, these beautiful models, what makes you think you could be one?
Yeah.
What a way to sit there and hurt not only his child, but just to hurt people in general. I mean, to say something to somebody like that, that's hurtful.
It's very hurtful. And I think I was like 13 at the time. Yeah.
What a way to strip down a teenager before she's even seen in high school and, going on dates and these things. So he's already painted this picture. Ain't nobody going to want you. Nobody going to want to be with you because you're not beautiful. Man.
Right. And my mother said the same thing. So they were both narcissistic. They weren't diagnosed. So they had narcissistic behaviors. As some people, you want to be correct with that. They were both selfish. They cared about themselves, and they would use you for whatever they needed. And people were happy to do it because of their presentation. But behind the scenes, it was totally different. So I still put my daddy on a pedestal. Like, this is what I think, the man I would be with is. And guess what? During my whole life, what I just realized this year, I've been dating my daddy. Different parts of his personality, not the whole picture, but different parts of my father's personality. I'm finding that out now. I'm acknowledging it now. That's what I have been doing. So I never wanted to be in a relationship with anybody who would be too committed, because I know you're going to leave. I know I'm not really good enough. And I want to be able to be the one to walk away, because you can't hurt me if I walk away.
Wow, Trevis. Ooh. But I know you, but I'm learning a lot just by having this interview with you. I knew a little of your story, but this is a lot for even a grown woman to take in, knowing that I can't even imagine, because I grew up with both my mom and my dad.
Okay.
So I try to sometimes we try to understand, but unless you've gone through that situation, it's kind of hard to understand unless somebody, shares their story with you. But only then can we, have compassion and empathize with you to a certain degree, right? But man, that is crazy. Well, look, we're gonna go into it a little bit more deeper because look, we
Go
only
ahead.
shared 2 bits, right? But before we go into a little bit more of your story, I do want to go ahead and talk about our first sponsor for today. And our sponsor for today's show is none other than K Connections, the visionary current cherry for the Power Up Summit. And we'll be right back.
Hi there, Kim Coles here, and I want to invite you to the Power Up Summit, which is July 14th through the 18th, 2021. It's an international virtual summit held over 5 days with over 100 speakers, including me. I'm excited to join the creator and host, Kern Cherry, and her wonderful team. So go right now to timetopowerup.com. That's time, the number 2, powerup.com. Registration is free. But if I were you, I would upgrade to enjoy everything in the Power Up VIP All Access ticket. Join me as I help to celebrate over 100 amazing individuals for their excellence for the inaugural Power Up Awards. It's always a good time to power up. Woo, woo, woo.
And that was none other than Miss Kim Coles. If you all don't know, Kim Coles is going to be in the house. She's going to be there for our gala. She's going to be at Power Up Summit. And again, if you do not know where to go to register for the summit that starts next week, you can go to www.time2powerup.com. Again, Power Up Summit, www.time2powerup.com. And Miss TrevisMichelle is also going to be a speaker at the Power Up Summit, so you might want to come through.
Come through. Be in the house.
Oh, me. Okay, let me just let me breathe. They say you got to do those breathing techniques when you start hearing all of this stuff. So look, you were hurt by your mom. You were hurt by your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you are this, and I'm going to say beautiful, regardless of what your dad said, this beautiful woman who meets this guy that you just thought was the man of your dreams, right? So, but he turned out to be somebody else. So tell us about that.
Well, and you mentioned you left out the 32.5 years my senior, but anywho.
No, yeah, right. He was, hold on, y'all. He was 32 years older than her. 32 years older than her. Y'all heard me, old enough to be her daddy.
Exactly. Yeah, he's older than my father right now. They're 10 years apart.
Wow.
But because I was the part of my life and the reason the woman that I am today is because of my grandparents. So I was used to being around older people. I could associate with them. I could understand them. I felt comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable with people of my own age because I was never really able to grow up because I had so many responsibilities so young. And so when I, started dating him, my mother was against it. Only people who weren't against it were my grandparents. And they were like, you can't tell your heart who, you don't know who you're going to fall in love with. He treated me like a queen. Really, he is a good person. And the thing is, though, I'm his third wife. So, and being so young in my teens, I was legal, guys. I'm like 19, but just barely made it. He wanted to mold me into the woman he wanted me to be. And because I was always silenced and didn't have my own voice, I was fine with that because I'm like, he's worldly. I'm looking up to him. He knows everything. I can learn from him. I can heal because I knew I needed to go through therapy at some point and start the healing process, for real, based on my background, because I grew up a bookworm. I read everything. It did not matter. An encyclopedia, Ladies Chatterley's Lovers. I read, Spook Sat by the Door, to Charlotte's Web, Wuthering Heights. I mean, anything I could get my hands on, Black writers and stuff. So it helped me escape. So when I met him, I was like, oh, I can breathe now. And everything was great until it wasn't. When I started growing, and that was happened in my 30s, then it was like, no, I don't want you. Where's this independence coming from? And it's because I said, I want to go to school to be a registered nurse. Oh, he was supportive of me. I was excited. And then he started listening to his friends who are the same age. You know how those nurses are. She's going to use you to get her degree, and then she's going to leave you. I wasn't going to leave him. I had it good. I did not cook. I didn't have to wash clothes. I was able to travel. He would keep the kids. I would go away with my girlfriends to Brazil because they were his friends' wife and stuff. I had it really well. And he just kept listening to them. And then he started not trusting me. And he would look at my mileage if I went to the store and check to see how. So it became very controlling. And I wasn't working. After a while, he was like, no, I don't want you to work anymore. Well, I'm like, okay. So he would give me an allowance, and I was happy to get the allowance. I was like, but I want a Volvo. He bought me a brand new Volvo. It was just whatever I wanted, but I didn't realize that that was part of the control. So when I decided that, no, I want to go back to school, I'm going to do this, and he put the brakes on, and he started becoming more controlling. And it just came to a point where I began walking in my power. I realized that I have a voice because I was around other people that had voices, whereas before I was isolated. So that's where the issue came in. But after everything was said and done, one thing that we did not do was make our children secondary. Our children always remain the center and the focus. And I had to put up with some stuff, even when the judge says no, that he shouldn't see the children, not because he was hurting them, but because of what he had done to me. And I was like, yeah, but the children still need to see him because he's a good father. He just wasn't a good husband for me at the end. And my children have said that to me. And that's like the biggest compliment. My daughter, who's in her 30s, said, Mom, one thing I can say, because she said it to my father, she says, no matter how nasty that divorce was, my mother and my father never left us. They never made us feel that we were less than and we did not count. That was huge to me.
Wow, that's powerful to know that no matter what you two, because you'll find in marriages or in relationships where there's a bad breakup, but then the kids suffer, right? Because you usually have a parent trying to belittle the other parent or down talk the other parent, and then the children are just like, what about me? Am I not important? Am I not enough? And they start thinking these things, and then next thing you know, all of that trauma starts with them. When they're little, and then they take that with them. So I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Do you believe that because you say he was 32 years older than you, do you believe that because your mom abused you, your daddy made you feel unworthy and ugly, that led you to run into someone older and led you to that relationship, I guess maybe so quickly at a young age?
I was comfortable with older people because I was raised by my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just went from when I came back to New York from my grandparents, I went to an older man. Okay, it sounds crazy, but he used to work with my mom. No interest. There was nothing. I hadn't seen him for years until I had come back to New York as an adult. And he just befriended, we were friends again. He was like, oh my goodness, so happy to see you. And that's how the relationship just continued from there when I was an adult. So I was comfortable with him. And I didn't feel I was running because I was independent. I was working. I was a single mom. But I knew that being a Christian, I wanted, I wasn't here to play house with anybody. And if you wanted to stay in the relationship, then you should be moving towards marriage.
Right.
And that's what he had spoken about. He knew how I felt about it. We went to the same church because he introduced me to the church that I go to now for like over 30 years. And so I knew he had a relationship with God, and that was important to me too.
Okay. Okay. So you were used to being around older people growing up. So, you know, the little young boys didn't stand a chance, did they?
Not even a clue, because I wasn't into partying. I never went out to the parties. I wasn't into smoking or, weed or anything like that. I thought, well, I don't have to worry about him running around on me. I don't have to, I was living in the world of bliss. And I said, he's established. I can concentrate on my career, what it is I want to do, and find myself. That's really what I thought. In addition to, I know how to take care of someone. My grandparents taught me as an example of a healthy relationship. And I have to say, they went to HBCU, Bethune-Cookman College, and they were taught personally by Mary McLeod Bethune. So that's what they instilled in me, those same values. And so I knew how to put my husband first, not my boyfriend, not my boo thing. Put my husband first, cleave to him, take care of a household. I learned that. So that part came easy, but it was never to put myself anywhere really in the picture.
Right. I get it. Now, I'm a domestic violence victim advocate, right? And sexual assault victim advocate. That's what I do in my work. And, just talking and having this conversation with you, I hear all of the different things, right? The isolation and the manipulation and, basically saying, you don't need to work. I don't want you to work no more. All the controlling behavior. Did you experience, I know you talked about all of the, like the emotional and mental piece, but did you experience any physical abuse? And what about, I know you talked about him controlling, you didn't have to work no more and that stuff. So there was a little financial abuse there too, because he's giving you allowance, giving a grown person allowance. Okay. I can see if you asked for the allowance, but he said, this is what I'm going to give you so you don't have to work no more. So, that's a little different. But what are some of the things that you experienced from him being in that abusive marriage that you felt was the most hurtful and probably a way for you to not be able to leave at at a certain point before you finally took your power back? But what all did you have to experience, and what all you have gone through in order to get to that point to where you said, okay, I need to get out?
Well, I'm not as clear as the first time I said I was going to leave, because when I finally left, I'll tell you what happened. But prior to, I just had my 2 children, right? And I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I saw bits of control coming, and I'm like, no. Well, guess what? I injured myself on the job, and I had to have surgery. My leg is up in a special machine. My knee I had pins in my legs and everything. And guess what happened? I got pregnant.
Wow.
So I was like, well, how can I leave now? I'm pregnant. I have to do rehab and everything. And so I said to him, I'm going to leave anyway. And he was like, no, he never wanted me to leave. He never did. And I told him what the rules would be for me to stay. And that was, I get an allowance. I get a brand new Volvo. I have to be able to travel with my friends, and he babysits, right? And that I wanted to go back to school. I was expecting him to say no. So it would be easy peasy, and I'd be, it was an easy exit. And he said yes. So I stayed, and then everything was good for a while until it wasn't. And definitely while I was pregnant, that was the only time he put his hands on me ever. And he didn't punch me or anything, but he pushed me into a wall. And I actually put that in the book. And that was very hard to put into a book because my children didn't know about it. And they don't need to know what happens during our divorce. Those are adults, right?
Right.
But if I'm uncomfortable to help someone else, then I have to tell it. And that's when I said, no, this is not going to. Now, he apologized, whatever. He never touched me again. But I knew that it would only escalate and possibly get worse. So that was my turning point. So I had to strategize. So I sat there and said, okay, now what do I need to do? If I'm going to go to school, I have to make sure that the bills are in my name, the loan. And I went to my grandmother. My grandfather had passed, but my grandmother had money. So I was like, I have to move out. So what did I do? I go to my mom. I was able to find an apartment. My grandma said, I will help you. I was working a piece of a job and going to school full time. And she says, I will pay for the apartment down payment and help you in any way. So I said, well, Mom, while my apartment is taking 2 weeks, it will be ready. Can me and the kids just stay with you for those 2 weeks and so we can move into the apartment? My mother told me, you need to take you and your 3 children and go to a shelter. I was like, what? Because I told her it wasn't, I don't want to stay here. Mm-hmm. So, and then the judge, whose wife is a famous judge on television, but I won't say who it is. You can just Google it or figure it out. I'm in the courtroom and I said, he needs to leave. You know what he said? You're young. You're probably the reason for the divorce. So I'm not going to make this man leave his home. Draw a line in the middle of the house. He gets to stay.
What?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was floored. So every turn I was made to feel powerless, but I had to still stand and walk in my power because I could have said, forget it. I'm going to stay. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, girl, he makes good money. You have your mink coat, you got your Volvo, and you travel. What's the matter with you? So what? And then, here comes the cheating. And I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me I should stay because of my finances? I'll make my own money, whatever I have to do.
Right.
So I had to not be around those people anymore because they weren't supportive of me. And I was so embarrassed because my grandparents mean everything to me. And this is like the second time I have to go to them. The first time I had to go to them to tell them I was pregnant and how I got pregnant. And they didn't know it because I came back to New York to have my child. And actually almost had to escape Florida to get back to New York. And when I told my grandfather, he cried. So I thought I had disappointed them. And they said, hold your head high. You did nothing wrong. So now here I'm going through a divorce. And I'm like, I go to my grandmother and, this woman believes in the Lord, believes in marriage. And she says, it's not working. It's not safe. You need to leave. Again, my grandmother has always been my rock, my backbone on earth to support me. And she's born in 1918. So I did not think that she was going to have that mindset. And she did. So she says, whatever it takes. And I used to go shopping and put all of my dry goods in her house. I had a broom, mop, everything. Towels, I saved up because I had to strategize. How am I going to exit this place? Exiting is the most dangerous period, right?
It is.
So I had to plan it out, but for some reason, he decided to go see that chick in Florida. I was so happy. And he told me at the last minute, I had a family member. They said, I'm going to rent the U-Haul. Your apartment's ready. And when he comes back on Sunday, you will be gone. So we waited. I made sure he works for the airline, so it's standby. So I made sure he got on that flight because I knew how to go in the computer and check and make sure he was on it. We got that U-Haul and packed up everything. So when you walk back in the apartment, you could not tell that I was gone. I left pots, pans, towels, sheets. I only took my children's things from their room and my clothing. And I had everything new in my apartment. Then the only thing I had to wait on was the sofa to come. But they had everything because I wanted my children to feel that they weren't going to an empty place that's barren. And they were used to a certain lifestyle. So I wanted to make it as close to that to make it comfortable as possible. And because of my grandmother, I was able to do that. And I have not looked back. And it was still difficult because, when you're co-parenting, I tried my best not to talk bad about him in front of my kids. And I know you guys are going to say, yeah, right. Well, again, my children were talking to someone and they said, well, one thing we can say is my mother did not badmouth my father. They're adults now. you don't understand that they're paying attention to what you're doing and what you're saying. And it's not about being perfect, but I tried my best because I knew I wanted a break. So every other weekend, absolutely. They were on a flight because I moved to Atlanta to come to New York so they could see their father because I needed a mental break. Summertime, he even took the dog because I kept constantly just trying to work with him, no matter how he tried to push it off or, make me angry. And I did get angry. I would call my girlfriend and look, I know some words that y'all don't think I know. I would go in. But then when I had to speak to him and with my children, I had to have a different face. And the best part of that, and that's why I say that we're friends, and we are, because I'll be taking the little one over to him and my daughter so that I can go to work tomorrow. He called to me one day and I was like, oh gosh, what's happening now? And he says, I need you to know that you are a good wife and you are a good mother. I had tears in my eyes because that was huge after all we've been through for him to say that to me. So now if he had to have surgery, who's there? Who's down as one of his healthcare proxy? The kids, mom, dad is here. He wants you. Like what? When he would have a girlfriend after we, divorced, they couldn't stand me because I was always around. We go to family functions together. There is no separation. The grandchildren, they only know us together. Pop Pop and Titi. They don't even think of us as not being together because that's how you have to work it for your children. It wasn't for me. I had to put my crap aside
Right.
in order for my kids.
Man, that's that's so powerful. I'm happy to hear that you had a way to get out, right?
Right.
Your grandmother was there to help you, because a lot of times when you find that you're in an abusive relationship, you learn who your real friends are.
And
You're
they're
gonna
not
have those ones that ride or die for you, and as long as you with that person and that person give you all this cheese, we call it cheese, all that money, right? But the minute you want to walk away, they team the guy over there or team the abuser, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you serious? So to know that there was a blessing, I call it a blessing. Your grandmother was there, but then you found out who was really your friends, right? But then also in that you probably gained new friends, people, a whole different tribe, a whole different crew of people who would love you unconditionally even in the midst of all that. And then the one thing that I heard was the fact that you and your ex maintained that co-parenting
We did.
to make sure that the kids stayed a priority. Yeah, you probably put, behind closed doors, you're probably cussing and calling everything outside of the Bible, right? But you didn't show that in front of your children. And that's so important that they see that is powerful, when the kids feel like, okay, my mom and dad aren't together, but they still made me a priority.
Right.
And even though kids come from a broken home, they still know what love is like because they got it from both sides.
Right. And I don't even know that the home is broken,
Mm-hmm.
because we'll say, oh, you're from a broken home. And so that gives the impression that you're not fixable or you're not good enough. You
Right.
came from a single family or a single parent
Yeah.
home. Your parents are divorced. Because sometimes that's healthier than two people being together. You're more broken, and the two of you are arguing, fighting. It's not a healthy relationship or environment for your children. But because society says, you married, everything is good. No, sometimes you're healthier. And in our
Right.
case, we're definitely healthier apart. And we're still co-parenting. Now
And
we're
that's good.
co-grandparenting.
Co-grandparenting, and that's good. That's really good. So I wouldn't even say let me retract that and say not broken home, but a split home. We'll just do it that way. A split home where both parents are still working together to raise the children and the grandchildren. Well, Trevis, we're going to get into your method, right, and talk about how powerful it is to forgive. Forgiveness is powerful. But before we get into that, I do want to highlight my other sponsor for tonight's show, and that is none other than Go Fig Company, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, I am Rita M. Green, owner of Go Fig Co., a boutique digital marketing and project management firm. We specialize in email marketing, social media campaigns and management, website design, graphic design, email marketing, Dubsado setup, and more. Administrative tasks especially. We are here to take the hassle out of your hustle and just to get things done, period. So if you're in need of another set of hands, a second pair of eyes, or a fourth or fifth or sixth, we are here to assist you with all of your needs. Again, I'm Rita M. Green, owner of Go Fig Co., and we would love to serve you, your business, and your brand. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Go Fig. Go is spelled GEAUXFIG. You can also see us online at www.gofig.com. Check out what we have to say, and also check out our blog where all of our articles that we post online are located. Plus, you can see our portfolio of completed works. We'd love for you to check those out as well. If you'd like to check with me, if you'd like to connect with me personally, I am Rita M. Green on LinkedIn. I hope you have a fantastic day. Go win the day, go for the gold, and bye-bye.
And as I mentioned, today's show is sponsored by Go Fig Co. And their website is www.go as in GEAUX fig.com. And the visionary and owner of that company is Rita M. Green. If you do not know Rita, let me tell you, you might want to get to know her because that lady and her team know their stuff. They are who make me visible, and a lot of other people that I've been able to connect them with be visible too as well. So get connected, Go Fig Co. All right, Trevis.
Can I just take a moment? I would like to just say hi to some people. I see their comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because my squad showed up. So I just want to acknowledge Shani. Thank you, Tiffany. I see Paula, Mavis, Sandra Nixon, thank you so much. Dr. Joanne White. And I think there was Linda Tompkins is here, Crystal, Christy Gilner and Sabrina. Go girl, I see you. And I have Alexis McGee in here from the Combo Club in Club to the House. So thank you guys so much for the support. I just like to shout people out.
Yay! And thank you all for tuning into the show. You already know when you see Trevis, you're gonna see Dr. Jerry. When you see Dr. Jerry, you're gonna see Trevis.
Right.
Even in Clubhouse. So Trevis, let's talk about the how forgiveness is powerful. And when you talk about forgiveness, how are you able to forgive your mother, your father, your ex-husband, and then how are you now using your platform to help serve other people who have been in that position to find their purpose and walk in their power? And I know there's one thing that you do use, which is the walk method, but I'll let you share all of that. The stage is yours, honey.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. Yes. While I was struggling and trying to find myself and walking with God, because that's my foundation, I wouldn't be here without him, right? I had to forgive my mom. He said, if you want to really spread the word, and I didn't know what word he wanted me to spread. I was like, God, I know it ain't to be a preacher because I don't want to be around them. They hurt me and I can't be a hypocrite. And, I just had this in my head. And he was like, I told you to tell my story. Well, I have been fighting it for years, right? And so he's made it a little tough sometimes because I'm like, nah, I don't think God, that's not exactly what I need to do. But he says, you have to forgive your mother. And I'm like, why do I have to forgive her? She hurt me. I didn't ask to be born. But I knew that I was going to bleed all over people just like she did if I did not forgive her, no matter how hard it was. And I actually forgave her. But it did not mean that I had to stay in her presence and allow her to continue this process. No. Then I took it a step further and I forgave everyone who raped me. And that was hard. And I forgave the teachers who didn't believe in me. I forgave the family member who was in the police force who didn't believe when I said what was going on. I had to forgive those people because it really wasn't about me. But I had to make my journey about me. And then I forgave my dad. And I'm so happy that I forgave my mom because her last 5 months of her life, and my brother was there helping as well, but she wanted me to be in charge of everything. And I made her finances. And I had to sit with my mother on her bedside and decide to say, okay, who do you want to give your eulogy? What do you want to wear? Because she was terminal with cancer. And we went through it. And I would have to go to the bathroom, cry, and then I would come back again. And my mother would allow me to touch her. And I get really emotional about it because I grew up not being able to touch my mom. And the only way I could touch her, would be I would be ducking because she would be coming at me with a slap or a fist or a belt or whatever she could get her hands on. So for her to want to hold my hand was powerful. And when my mom was going to transition, they called me at my job and they're like, you got to go. And I was in the middle of a case with a patient and they said, just forget this. We're going to take over for you. Go. And I got there, called everybody so they could say goodbye, their goodbyes. My brother said, I can't stay. And I was like, well, I'm going to stay. I'm a ride or die chick. That's one thing. I am loyal. And when I say I'm going to do something like that, I'm going to try to do that. And my mother was having jagged breathing. And you see in the movies where they have that jagged breathing. And I'm like, Mom, it's okay. You can go. But she wouldn't. And God dropped in my spirit, she wants you to say you forgive her. So I got in the bed with my mom and I held her hand and I touched the top of her forehead. And I said, Mommy, you're going to go and see. And I mentioned all the people that passed on in our family. And I said, Mommy, it's okay for you to go. And I forgive you. And I started crying and it still makes me cry. And my mother smiled. And she was able to transition with peace. And so I was able to protect my mother and give back and show her love that she never showed me. And it was so freeing because who gets that opportunity? People pass and then it's like, why did you? It didn't matter to me because people always ask me, even to this day, why do you think your mother did that? I don't care. That's not going to change anything. That wasn't my battle to fight. That wasn't for me to deal with.
Amen.
Right? It was the way I reacted to her reaction. And so it has freed me up. And so that's why, yes, I share my mom's story, but I always have to make sure that people know in the end, it was a beautiful experience. And I don't know how people manage when they lose someone because those 5 months, if I had my mother all that time, I would have been a totally hot to the mess. And
Right.
And now in terms of my dad, he decided that he didn't want to be bothered with me. And he also rejected my children. So a couple of weeks ago, my daughter said, because she's just like me times 10, she says, so why did you reject me and my brothers? And he literally said, yeah, I just didn't give a shit about you guys. I didn't think about you. He said, I paid your mother's child support when she was growing up, and that was the end of my obligation.
Wow.
Now, I never knew that. And then I find out that in addition to him just feeling that that was his only obligation, and this was why he didn't even want to be around my children, he was ashamed of me because I had a child and I wasn't married.
Mm.
And he said, but your mother told me that you were dating her boyfriend. And you believed it?
Wow.
He said, well, why would she lie to me? But you call my mother all kind of names and you can't stand her, you say, but you chose to believe that. You never questioned you all this time. He says, yes, I was ashamed of you for having a child out of wedlock.
Wow.
It had nothing to do with my being
Nothing.
raped.
Right.
Nothing. And how do you say that to somebody? So then it let me know all these years, my mother knew that I was being raped. And she did nothing to protect me. So being a speaker and being all these summits and finding out the last few weeks, it's been like, wow. but I still brought him into my home, still took him to the best surgeons in the East Coast, in fact, in New York City, and the country, so that he could have his heart surgery. Then brought him here, nursed him back to health, cooked for him, took him to his doctors. I have FMLA. I've done all of these things. And come to find out when Father's Day, I'm like, okay, so let me kind of, even though I don't have that love for him that other parents do, other children do, I promised my grandma, you know how I love my grandma. She said,
Right.
your parents are going to need you one day. And I need you to be there for them, to show them the love and protection they didn't show you. She was on her deathbed. I would have given her my life, anything. And I said, okay. And so I did that. I completed it with my mom. But then I was like, God, I was so angry. Like, and him too? What? He's 80 now. He wants to acknowledge that I'm his only child. People didn't even know I existed. Now he wants me to help him. And my children, my attorney, my friends, pastor, everybody, people I know who are ministers, they're like, don't you let him in your house. That's not healthy. But I promised my grandmother, so I did it. But I set limits. I told him what I would do, what I would not do. And I'm very like a neat freak, and I like my house a certain way and blah, blah. So he couldn't come in here running over me because he intimidates women.
Right.
He's an abuser, right? And a manipulator and narcissistic behaviors. But on Father's Day, you know what? That weekend, he decided he wanted to go and spend time with the woman and children he raised. And so I had to say, okay, that's it. I've done my part. I got him through all his doctors. And then he still is calling me, oh, but I need you for this. I need you for that. And I opened up my home, my master bedroom. Everybody's like, put him downstairs on the lower level in the guest room. And I was like, no, it would be easier for him to be upstairs. He was using my office, and that's how he has, treated me. So, I mean, he says he's so appreciative and stuff, but I can go to bed at night knowing that I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And I'll continue to get him because he wants to transition, because he's dying, literally. His heart is 24%.
Wow.
He doesn't have much to live longer. But I said I would help him get back to Pittsburgh, and that's what I will do so that he can transition there.
Right.
So I've had to walk, WALK. W stands for being willing participant. I had to say, I am a willing participant for my health, for my journey, so that I can grow and be better. A, acknowledge it. I had to acknowledge that, you know what? I'm still, a part of me hurts sometimes. I still need the help, but how am I going to get that help, and where am I going to look for that help? Then L, I have to love myself regardless, right? You have to love yourself through your mess. And believe me, the last few weeks, it got messy, but I couldn't stop loving me.
Right.
Then K, kick butt unapologetically. I'm too much for some, not enough for others. But guess what? I'm always going to be TrevisMichelle. I am not going to apologize for who I am, or because, oh, well, you always want to have your eyelashes on. And yeah, that's right. That's right. Because that's what my grandmother instilled in me, that no matter what, even when you don't feel good, you want to look good, right? You're not being authentic, but your presentation helps to change your attitude sometimes.
Right.
And if you don't feel comfortable, then you shouldn't be in my circle. And I can't let everybody in my circle. So that's why especially I'm part of a squad called the Tilted Crown Squad. It's 10 of us, and we really are tight. And then there's Tiffany. I met Tiffany. Oh, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. My computer just decided to do its own thing. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm part of the Tilted Crown Squad. In addition, Tiffany Tichy, who's on here, I met her in the book anthology, and we have not been separated since. And I pulled her in to the Power Up Summit. So you guys, if you want to hear a little bit of this, you need to go to www.time2powerup.com. You've heard my story, but there's so many stories, and you have stories. And we should not keep them to ourselves. We have to help other people. It's not about me. I know, and and I thank you for all the kind words people are saying, but this isn't about me. this is a testimony to help someone else. Now, granted, I had to go through it, and when I was going through it, it was all about me. But now that I'm not just survived it, but thriving through it, Sir Thriver,
Yeah, that's right.
I have to share it with other women, other men, because there are a whole lot. 1% of births in the United States of America is from rape. And a lot of times those mothers don't treat those children right because
Right.
they look like that abuser, because it didn't happen the way they wanted to. So who do they take it out on? That child. And that's not right, because they didn't ask to be here. I had a choice to make. And when God said this baby was to be here, I said, God, then I'm that vessel. And I had to tell my son that, because as a teenager, it was hard for him. And I said, you know what? Because you know what? When I was going through the divorce, you know who told him that he was born from that, conceived and raped? My ex-husband, in order to hurt me while we were going through the divorce.
Mm.
So that sent him through a tailwind. And I had to sit him down and say, baby, you don't understand. You are God's choice. And if I was just a vessel, if I had to be raped 1 million times, times 2, in order for you to be here, I would gladly go through it. And I had told him that over and over. And when he grew up as an adult, at first he was angry with me, and he said, you should have just aborted me. And I was like, absolutely not. You are priceless. And so people don't know, when you have so much influence over your child and over other people. And that's why words are so important. And we know we say things we shouldn't, but we really need to be mindful with our youth, because guess what? You need to look in the mirror. Would you date you? So how you're treating other men, other young boys and other young girls, and they grow up to be men and women, but you don't want to take any responsibility for that, right? But you planted a seed in them.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I can say, I have 3 of the best children in the world. They are mine, with all their flaws, all their good parts, all of them, because they are so close. And that's something that I think every parent would want or should want. The 3 of them are close. But look, my son, Christian, the one who started out the program with, he and his dad, they make sure I have my Yeezys. Okay, Kanye, I have the new slides. I got my sneakers. I help him because my son is a single father. He sent me roses that will last for 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, they're material things, but he didn't have to do anything. And
Right.
let something be wrong with me, all 3 of my kids are right there. They got together for Christmas, and I didn't even know about it, and purchased something for me that I needed because I renovated my house. And I was like, the 3 of you together? That is powerful. And I speak to my children several times a week.
Right.
So doing that walk method, WALK, is important. And I was doing it my whole life and didn't know it. And now I put a name to the process. So if I can turn my frown into a smile after all that you've heard, doggone well you can. And you know that I am the person to help you get through that.
I know that's right, TrevisMichelle. We're going to snap for you, girl.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
look, Travis, I just want to say thank you. I feel like I'm connected to you a little bit more, and you've connected with a lot of people that's been watching here tonight. And I am truly thankful for you just being here on the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show and taking the hour out of your schedule to share your story. And that's what the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show is about, is people sharing their trauma, their stories and their voice with the world, and show them that, hey, my past doesn't define me, but my past helped me find my purpose, right? And they
Yes.
birth that business, birth that nonprofit, birth that book, show up on stages, international stages, being bestsellers. So I just thank you for being here and being on the show. And before we, end the show today, can you share some last words and also share how people can connect with you if they want to connect with you and they want to try out your walk method,
Thank you so much.
basically move forward in life?
Well, number one, Dr. Yolanda Jerry. We are connected. We are stuck. We are glued together. I just have to let you guys know that when you are in her presence, you're in the presence of someone genuine. Don't take her for granted now, because don't play that. But she is so loving. She is fun. She's silly. And I'm just so thankful that she calls me friend. So thank you for having this opportunity. But you guys can find me on IG at TrevisMichelle. You can find me on Facebook at TrevisMichelle. And you can go to easytree.me/TrevisMichelle. And you can purchase my book on there, which is right behind me, Saving Lives While Fighting for Mine. And I tell my chapter, I just discuss divorce in there and how I went from powerless to powerful. In addition to that, go ahead and get a session with me. I'm working on my site, because guess who's fixing it? GoFig.com. That's right. Rita Green is redoing my site, because when you start out, you go in baby steps. And now I need a refresh. And she said, no, you don't need a refresh. You need a whole redo. So I'm working on that, and I'll be so excited about it. And I just want to give people credit, because when people walk the path with you, you should acknowledge them. And I gave shout outs to others here on you. I'm so glad you guys joined. Dr. Joanne, I'm not sure if I said your name. I didn't remember. So thank you so much for the kind words that you're saying. Christian is saying thank you too. And my dog, who, they were all part of it. This is a family function. See, I'm not walking this walk to be perfect, to have everything right all the time. I want to be human. The human experience is what we need. We have enough of filters. We have enough people just showing up and being someone else. I'm going to be the real me all the time. If that's what you are interested in, if you're ready to take that walk to go from powerless to powerful in your divorce, just in life, you don't have to go through anything traumatic. But guess what? Even being fired is traumatic. So from a job, but if you want to learn to forgive and not just say the words, but walk it. I didn't say it was going to be easy, but you can do it. And it doesn't take 50 years, but you do have to, be a willing participant. Can't do it without you. 2, you have to acknowledge, right? You have to acknowledge and stay present. L, you have to love yourself. And if you don't know what that looks like, we'll talk about it and you will learn. Because people always say love yourself, but if you've never loved yourself, how can they say love yourself when you don't know what it looks like? And K, kick butt unapologetically. You need to put your heels on, flip your hair, whatever it takes, because you are going to be you. So guess what? I need you to dream bigger than your thoughts and let your thoughts be bigger than your dreams, because we do not live in boxes out here in this world. I'm TrevisMichelle. Thank you so much.
And she is complete. No. Look, you're not gonna act like I'm in Clubhouse. Thank you so much, Trevis. It's such a blessing, as I mentioned earlier, to have you show up here on the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. We are stuck, like you said, we're stuck, we're friends, and I look forward to our relationship continuing to grow and us share stages together, us empower the world together, help other people heal in this world, and just to continue to do God's work. So thank you so much just for being who you are. And for those of you that tuned in or you just tuning in, go back and watch the replay. TrevisMichelle shared her heart. She shared her walk method. She talked about a lot of things. So you might want to just go back and catch that replay. And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to tune in every Thursday on the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, we have an amazing guest by Miss Jones. She is a singer, and so I can't wait to interview her next week. But again, you can follow me on YJ, as you can follow me with my handle YJ Empowers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And my website is IamYolandaJerry.com. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in. Hang out, Trevis, and I'll see you all again next week. God bless.
Bye.